Hey folks, a very low energy Ed here from Brain Pulp TV, and I don't know if it's because I haven't gotten enough sleep lately, maybe I'm coming down with something, I'm just feeling a little blah today. But anyways, getting to what we're going to be doing. Now, we're not going to be doing a draft. We are going to be doing a 5-match competitive Shadows Over Innistrad league. Typically, unless there is a pre-release where there's a new league that comes out or something like that, like I did with Eternal Masters. Speaking of which, sorry, as a quick aside, there was going to be another Eternal Masters draft. However, I didn't realize they were on for such a short time. So there's going to be no other Eternal Masters draft unless they bring them back for whatever reason. So I do apologize for that. Anyways, getting back to what we're doing now, I usually reserve leagues for the times where I'm either low on time or, like today, a little low on energy. So we are going to be doing this league and we are going to be trying something a little bit different. Hans, who is a commenter on one of the videos, who actually gave me a bunch of good advice on the previous league, the Eternal Masters League, had suggested that I do the deck building video and going over the cards that are in my sealed pool, play a game, and then wait a little while for feedback from people watching the videos on the channel so that you guys can sort of let me know if what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, maybe if there's something I'm missing as far as like what cards should be going in the deck, or just completely the colors are wrong or whatever like that. This will give you guys a chance to sort of give me feedback. So I like the idea. I'm going to go with it as sort of a test run anyways. So I'm going to be showing you the sealed pool. I'm going to be building the deck. We're going to be playing the first match of the sealed league. And then I'm going to be waiting to play my next matches till Friday of this week. So you guys are most likely watching this either Monday or hopefully before Friday. And if you are, you'll have a chance to comment on the deck build, on some cards you think that may help the deck. Even if it's just sort of like, oh, in your first match, you know, you might have tried doing this instead of this. Like, you know, if it's a gameplay thing as well, too. Any sort of feedback is welcome. I won't 100% promise that if you guys, someone comes up with an actual deck build, that I'm going to go strictly off of someone's deck build. I do probably want to try to keep at least the basic idea that I've come up with. So I'll definitely take suggestions, and I'm definitely eager to hear what you guys have to say, but I can't 100% guarantee that obviously I can take everyone's advice and then put it directly into the deck. That doesn't mean that I will not make changes. I will definitely make changes for sure. If I see something and I 100% agree with you, even if I probably 75% agree with you, I will probably alter the deck a little bit between the first match and the next 4. So there, now that we got that all the way, let's get to the card pool. I think you guys are going to be a bit pleased with what we ended up with, and I've come up with a deck, but first, let's go over all the cards. Okay, let's start with the rares, and in this instance, we're actually going to be starting with a mythic. Yes, we have Erlen Cord. So we are most definitely going to be playing with the Planeswalker, which initially when I saw her, I was like, okay, well, we're going to do a red-green build. Decision made. However, you see that I didn't quite go in that direction in the end, but still, we are definitely playing with Erlen Cord. If you're unfamiliar, she's 4-drop, 2, and a red and a green gets you a Planeswalker with the +1 of until the end of turn, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and gains Vigilance and Haste. Her 0 is put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield, transform Erlen Cord, and she transforms into the preview. I'll just move the preview over so you guys can see it. Sure, why not? We'll do that. And her transformed Planeswalker self is Erlen Embraced by the Moon. The +1 is creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample at the end of turn. The -1 is she deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and then you transform her back. The ultimate, the -6, is you get an emblem with creatures you control have haste, and tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So a very, very nice Planeswalker to get. Most Planeswalkers are nice to get, especially in sort of a sealed pool. So we are definitely going to be playing with her. I don't think that's something that any of you are going to disagree with. Okay, now moving on to the other rares, we have Anguished Unmaking, which for 1 white, and a black gets you an instant where you can exile target non-land permanent. You lose 4 life. If I was playing white-black in this, I can almost guarantee you this would be in the deck for sure. Then we have Brain in the Jar, which is an artifact for 2. You can pay 1, tap it, put a charge counter on Brain in the Jar. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Brain in the Jar from your hand without paying its mana cost. You can also pay 3, tap it, remove X charge counters from Brain in the Jar, scry X. It's a very, very fun card. I don't know how useful it would be, but man, these are the types of cards that I'm suckers for, especially in Constructed. But even with Sealed and with Draft, I would love to play Brain in the Jar in a deck. I don't know if this is the deck to do it in, but maybe it'll make it into the deck. You guys will find out very soon. Moving right along, we have Burn from Within, which X and a red gets you a sorcery. Burn from Within deals X damage to target creature or player. If a creature is dealt damage this way, it loses indestructible until the end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. It's in Arlen's colors. We're almost guaranteed to play this card. I really like this card. It also it's a very nice finisher. You know, it's like if the game's running long, you have tons of mana up, you top deck this, and it can basically win the game. And in the meantime, it's also decent removal and sort of versatile removal as well too. In blue, which is not in any of her colors, we have Confirmed Suspicion. So for 3 and 2 blue gets you an instant where you target or counter target spell and investigate 3 times. Not super crazy about it. Engulf the Shores. This is another one of those cards that I'm a sucker for when it comes to wanting to play in my decks. It's an instant for 3 and 1 blue. Return to their owner's hands all creatures with toughness less than or equal to the number of islands you control. It seems like it'd be a fun card to play. It's just I don't think I've ever actually played it. I think I've put it in decks before, and I never got a chance to play it. I don't even think anyone's ever played it against me. I can't be 100% sure, which I guess should tell me how valued this card is throughout Draft and Sealed, but whatever. I think it would be a fun card to play. It's in blue, so we may not play it, but we'll see in a few minutes. Next, we have Flameblade Angel. It's in red. It is a 6-drop, 4 and 2 red, gets you a 4/4 angel with flying. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent you control, you may have Flameblade Angel deal 1 damage to that source's controller. I think it's a very strong card. If we're playing red, and we probably are, this will most definitely go in our deck. Then for 2 colors that aren't in our Planeswalkers colors, Invocation of Saint Traft is a 3-drop, 1 white, 1 blue, gets you an aura enchantment. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Exile that token? Having a hard time talking. Exile that token at the end of combat. Now, if we were playing either white or blue, actually, well, both white and blue, I would almost definitely be putting this into my deck. It seems like a very fun card. I had it played against me a couple times. One time to just crazy effect. It got played really early. It was so tough to deal with, and I just think it's another one of these fun cards. So I don't think we're going to be playing. Well, okay, I'll let you in a little secret. We're not playing white blue, so this card unfortunately will not make it into our deck, even though I quite like it. And last but not least, in the rares, we have, let me just move it over, Westvale Abbey. Now, it's a land. You can tap it for 1 colorless. You can pay 5, tap it, pay 1 life, put a 1/1 white-black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. You can also pay 5, tap it, sacrifice 5 creatures, transform Westvale Abbey, then untap it. And it transforms into Ormondal Profane Prince, a 9/7 legendary demon creature with flying, lifelink, indestructible, and haste. That's all good, especially when it's all in one big package. So this card we're probably going to put in the deck no matter what colors we're playing. I mean, at worst, it's a colorless mana source. So it's not obviously the best depending on the colors we're playing, but I don't know. I think just throwing it in is not the worst idea ever, but you guys may disagree with me. But those were all the rares. Now let's get to the rest of our card pool. Okay, starting off in white, we have Chaplain's Blessing, we have Stern Constable, which, I'm not super crazy about. We have Topplegeist, which I actually quite like. We have 2 copies of Moorland Drifter, another card I'm quite fond of. Nahiri's Machinations, we have 2 copies of it. This is an enchantment that I really, really like, probably more than I should. So usually if I play white or red and this comes up, it determines that I'm going to be playing both of those colors. That said, it probably shouldn't, because there's only been 1 draft I did where I was playing this where it helped me an amazing amount. However, that was the only time it's really helped me out. So for some reason, I've got it built up in my head that it's this mega card, and I don't necessarily think it is. I think I just had a really, really good run with it in one particular draft, and I've just been carrying over that excitement and feeling I got when I dominated with this card before. So moving on, we have a Vessel of Ephemera, which I enjoy as well too. Angelic Purge, I know some people are sort of split on this particular card. I think this is really great removal. I like this card. I actually pick it highly in draft. Granted, I'm not the best drafter in the world, but still, I really like Angelic Purge. Survive the Night, I think, is okay. It's a nice trick. Apothecary Geist is also a good card. Inquisitor's Ox can be good, especially if you're on the road to Delirium pretty early on. And Inspiring Captain, which is another card I'm fond of. So that's white. White is solid. It's got some solid cards into it. Let's move on to blue, which is the other card which is not in our Planeswalkers colors. We have Nagging Thoughts, Ongoing Investigation, Press for Answers, 2 copies of that, which is a nice card. Seagraph Scab, Vessel of Paramnesia. Thank you. I almost said that correctly, I think. Catalog. We have Broken Concentration. Aberrant Researcher, which is a creature that I really want to play with in Constructed. I've always wanted to try it in Sealed. I've never had what I thought was the right deck for it. So I've never got a chance to actually play around with it. But maybe one day in Sealed or in Draft, I'll get to play with the Aberrant Researcher. We have Drownyard Explorers, Engulf the Shores, 2 Silent Observers, a Stitchwing Scab, Gone Missing, Storm Rider Spirit, Confirm Suspicions, as we saw before, and Rise from the Tides. So yeah, we have some good cards in blue. I don't think blue's our strongest color. Let's move on to black, which is the remaining color that is not in our Planeswalkers colors. So we have Indulgent Aristocrat, which is a vampire. So, you know, they're Ghoulcaller's Accomplice, which is nice. Got a little bit of extra value to it. Murderous Compulsion, which for, I think, the first 8 drafts that I did, I kept referring to as Murderous Cut. It's not. It's Murderous Compulsion, and I quite like Murderous Compulsion, even if I can't say it. Olivia's Bloodsworn. I don't mind this card at all, especially if you can get a vampire strategy going. Pale Rider of Trostad. Great if you're doing sort of a Delirium deal, but... or as well, too, it also enables Madness, so you can't complain about that. Rancid Rats, I think, is a very solid card. Crow of Dark Tidings, another card which I think is good if you're trying to go for Delirium really quickly. Merciless Resolve, 2 Vampire Novels, so a couple more vampires here. Accursed Witch, I'm so happy whenever I see this in my sealed pool, and especially if I want to play black. Accursed Witch, I really love Accursed Witch, which transforms into Infectious Curse. It is an Aura Curse enchantment. You enchant player. Spells you cast that target enchanted player cost 1 less to cast. At the beginning of the enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it's a very cool thing to end up having to stick your opponent with. And on top of it, you have a decent creature to sort of intro it into your opponent's life. Next up, we have Rotten Heart Ghoul. Then we have Stallion of Ashmouth, which can be quite good, especially if you have Delirium going. Twins of Morer State. I really like this card. Obviously, it's way better if you can use Madness with it, but I like this card. The art is solid. I think the card is good. It's a 5-drop for a 3/5 body, which is decent. And then the Madness, if you can bring this out in turn 3, it's really great. Now let's move into the colors that are the same as our Planeswalker. We start off with Dual Shot, which I think can be very good removal in Shadows Over Innistrad because there's a lot of stuff with only 1 toughness. Next up, we have Insolent Neonate, which is a vampire. So vampires could definitely be a thing in our sealed pool. And it's a Madness enabler, which is pretty nice. We have Skin Invasion, which transforms into Skin Shredder. So you can put this on either one of your creatures or one of your opponent's creatures. The enchanted creature attacks each combat if able. And then when the enchanted creature dies, return Skin Invasion to the battlefield transformed, and it becomes a 3/4 creature. Now, you could, for example, play Insolent Neonate on turn 1, Skin Invasion on turn 2. You could sack the Insolent Neonate and then get a 3/4 on the end of turn 2, or even the beginning of turn 2 if you really want to. So it is definitely a solid card if it can work with the strategy that you have going with your deck. And I think we can actually make use of this particular card. Next up, we have another card that transforms, so I won't bother moving the preview window. We have Village Messenger. It is a 1-drop 1/1 with haste. At the beginning of the upkeep, it does the werewolf flippy thing, and when it does flip, it becomes a 2/2 with menace. Moving right along, we have Ravenous Bloodseeker, which is a vampire, and it enables Madness for us, so that could definitely be something we include. Senseless Rage, which is an okay card. I see a lot of people play it, so I think I'm undervaluing it in my head. I think it's okay. I don't think it's super great, but yeah, it's definitely something we can consider putting in the deck. And if I'm wrong, let me know, please, in the comments section below. Geist Blast, obviously it's got extra value if you're playing blue as well, but still for removal, deals 2 damage to target creature or player for 3. It's not the best, it's not the worst, so it's definitely something to consider putting in the deck. Howlpack Wolf, if we go with the wolf strategy, obviously this gets better. Ulrich's Kindred, which once again, it gets better, I guess, if we have a wolf strategy going on, and if we're playing green as well, too. Uncaged Fury. I don't know how many times this card has cost me a game. A game or a match. So if we are playing red, I can almost guarantee you I'm going to put this card in my deck, if for no other reason than just spite. Next up, we have Hulking Devil, Structural Distortion, Voldaren Duelist, which is probably one of my favorite red commons in the entire set. I really like the Duelist. It's also a vampire, so once again, vampires are looking better and better for us. Next, we have the Flameblade Angel, which we went over before, as well as Burn from Within, both of which I would almost definitely be playing if I'm going to be playing red. And now let's move on to the green. And like I said, as soon as I saw Arlen Cord, and I've probably mispronounced that name 5 different ways since the beginning of this video. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, we're going to be red-green. It's just, we're going to be red-green. Now, there are some good green cards in here, but I'll show them all to you and I'll explain what my thought was when I was building the deck and why I'm probably not going to go with green as anything more than just a splash. Okay, so first off, we have Groundskeeper. We have Loam Dryad, which is fixing, which is decent fixing or better fixing than I've given it credit for in the past. Aim High, which is one of my favorite green cards from the set. Clip Wings, which is great for sideboard. Duskwatch Recruiter, which is freaking amazing. If you're playing green and you get this card, play it. Like, I don't have many like rock solid bits of advice, but I think there's very few strategies if you're playing green where this card is not good to play. Okay, it's a 2-drop. It's a 2/2 2-drop. So at worst, absolute worst, it's a bear. However, it is a human warrior werewolf creature. You can pay 2 and 1 green. You don't even have to tap it. So you can do this the second it hits the battlefield, which is the really great part. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put it in your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. So you don't even have to graveyard the other cards. This card has helped me in the few times I've gotten to play it. This card has never done me wrong. This card has taken me out of such bad situations where, you know, the situations where everyone's top decking. You, your opponent, you're both top decking. This card hits the battlefield. All of a sudden, you have your pick of the litter of what's coming up. It is such a game changer. I can't talk this card up enough. I'm probably talking it up way too much. If I am, please let me know. But anyways, it does the regular old werewolf flippy thing. And then creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then it becomes a 3/3. So I actually prefer it to stay a human, but if it flips, it's still got a decent upside as well too. I really, if you haven't guessed yet, I really like Duskwatch Recruiter. A decent card, which I'm much less enthusiastic about than the Recruiter, is the Hinterland Logger. Then we have, I'm just going to move this over. We have the Quilled Wolf, which is, once again, a decent card with a nice little upside. I'm not super crazy about it, but I've definitely played it to good end, and I've had it played against me that's just ruined me. So it is a decent card, definitely worth me considering putting in the deck. Root Out is a great sideboard card, destroy target enchantment or artifact. Stoic Builder, which is another solid card. Ulvenwald Mysteries, I really love Ulvenwald Mysteries. This is one of those cards that I think I like too much, and I always want to include it if I see it. Like, I will pick it highly over other things, which I probably should be picking. It's a fun card, and I'm a sucker for fun cards in sealed pools. We have Intrepid Visioner, another card I quite like, and 2 Watcher in the Webs, which are okay. Not the worst, not the best, but still, I think they're solid cards. We've got 2 of them, so. Now, we've already talked about Invocation of St. Taft. Anguish Unmaking, of course. I've discussed Arlen Cord already as well, too. We have Forsaken Sanctuary, which will do some nice little mana fixing if we want sort of a white-black strategy. We have Warp Landscape, which we're going to be playing 3 colors, so this is definitely going to be in my deck. Westvale Abbey, I don't see why not to put it in the deck. I don't. I think we've got it. We can play it. It's a land at worst. It gives us some colorless mana. I mean, yes, it may be better to have one of the colors that we want, but still, I think Westvale Abbey can be quite good. So just tossing the deck I don't think is the worst decision ever, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. You guys can correct me if I am. We have Woodland Stream. It's a shame that I don't really want to play blue. Explosive Apparatus, which I quite like as an artifact, a bit of removal, and it'll help with Delirium if a Delirium is sort of something you're going for. Brain in the Jar, we already discussed. And Epitaph Golem, which isn't super exciting. It's a 3/5 for 5. You can pay 2 and put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Let's get to the deck, and then we'll probably get back to this card. Who knows, because maybe I'm the only person in the world that's going to actually put this in their deck. I am. I'm going to put this in my deck. Okay, so this is the deck that I built from the card pool I just showed you. Now, right off the bat, you can see only 2 forests, because green in this deck is just going to be a splash. This may be possibly the biggest bone of contention that you guys have with the build I'm going to be doing. I don't know, but there's going to be only 2 forests. We have the Warped Landscape to hopefully grab the forest, and there's going to be some things that will help us out if our forests inadvertently get into the graveyard and we want to get them back out again. But other than that, it's a bunch of mountains, a bunch of swamps, and of course, Westvale Abbey. Okay, so in the end, I went with black-red with just a splash of green. Now, I went for a sort of vampire, somewhat madnessy, somewhat upsides with being able to sacrifice some of my own creatures, but that's not the main thing type of deck, which is a mouthful, so that's probably not going to be the final name of the deck. Anyways, we have Indulgent Aristocrat, a 1/1 vampire lifelinker. You can pay 2, sacrifice a creature, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. Now, next up, we have a vampire, Insolent Neonate. For 1 and for 1 red, you get the 1/1 menace creature with discard a card, sacrifice Insolent Neonate, draw cards. So, moving on, we have Skin Invasion, which I talked about before, Village Messenger, which I talked about before, Explosive Apparatus. Then we have Ghoul Caller's Accomplice, Murderous Compulsion for some removal, Olivia's Bloodsworn, another vampire, Rancid Rats, which I just think is a solid card, Ravenous Bloodseeker, yet another vampire, and something that can enable some of the stuff that we have with Madness, such as Murderous Compulsion. Duskwatch Recruiter. Who could have guessed that I would have put this in my deck after, you know, how blasé I was about talking about it earlier. Yes, we are putting Duskwatch Recruiter in. It is one of the 2 cards that requires green. It is just our little bit of a splash of green, and this, along with the Planeswalker, is going to be the only reason we're going to have Forest in our deck. Next up, we have Merciless Resolve, which is a card I've actually sort of warmed up to just recently. I don't normally like having to sacrifice creatures or land, even though Angelic Purge is one of my favorite bits of removal in this set. But by the time you need the card draw, you usually either have an abundance of creatures or an abundance of land. So it's really not that much of a downside by the time you need it. And it gets you to draw 2 cards, which is great, especially in the colors we're in. Also, and I'm jumping ahead, with things like Accursed Witch and with the Skin Invasion, whatever it's on, if it's on one of our creatures, this actually kind of can help us and speed things up. If we're not able to get them to kill our witch, we can kill our witch for us. Same thing with something like the Indulgent Aristocrat, which will sacrifice one of our creatures and benefit all the vampires we have. Speaking of vampires, we'll move on to our next 2 cards, which are both Vampire Nobles, which is just 3 2s for 3. We have Uncaged Fury because, like I said, this card has beaten me probably more than any other card in all of Shadows Over Innistrad, so we're putting this in our deck and we're going to enjoy it. Next up, I've talked about it already, we have Accursed Witch. We have ways of killing it if we want to, and if not, it's just a 4/2 that can swing in, which is great because a lot of the time they don't want to stop the witch. We've got Hulking Devil, which I don't think I've ever actually played in the deck. Lots of people played it against me. I don't know why. I've never played it. It's a 5/2 for 4, which isn't, in my mind, crazy, but still, it's an okay card. You know, most of the time they're going to all block it. They can chump block it with something for a 2/2, but still, it's an okay 4-drop. Now, before anyone says anything, I did not put Crow of Dark Tidings in. I actually put Hulking Devil in. I had Crow of Dark Tidings in originally when I built this, and then I decided against it and put Hulking Devil in. The reason why is I'm not going for Delirium at all with this deck. I probably could because I have some enablers, but there's no reason for me to go for Delirium because I have no cards that require Delirium in this deck. So I didn't want the Crows to dump, heaven forbid, the Planeswalker or both or one of my forests into the graveyard. So I'm shying away from Crow of Dark Tidings. May not be the best choice, but still, that's the decision I made. Getting back to the deck, though, we have Voldaren Duelist, which I think I mentioned this before. It's probably my favorite red common. Fiery Temper is right up there, but Voldaren Duelist has helped me huge in the past, and it's also ruined my day in the past as well, too. So it's also a vampire, and we do have a bit of a vampire strategy going. Of course, Arlen Cord, why wouldn't we play it? So this is the whole reason we're splashing green. Well, that and the Duskwatch Recruiter, but still, I really have high hopes because I've had her played against me before, and it's just caused nothing but tears. So I'm hoping to squeeze some of those tears out of my opponent this time around. Moving on, we have Twins of Morar Estate, which I've talked about before. Epitaph Golem. I'm not going to lie, I'm really scared about losing our forest. I probably shouldn't be, but two of my favorite cards in this deck are forest dependent. So this is sort of why I put this in, so that I can still grab one out of my graveyard and then use the Warp Landscape for. Now, there's nothing we can really do if we have both the forests up and land destruction happens twice, but what are the odds of that? Pretty low, I think. So, yeah, I put the Golem in. It's also a 3/5 for 5, which isn't the worst. Yeah, I just put this in just as added insurance that certain things didn't go into our graveyard. I don't know if it's the right decision. This might be something that you guys have a particularly strong feeling on one way or the other, and if you do, that's great, let me know. But otherwise, yeah, this is going in the deck. We have the Flameblade Angel, which I talked about before when we were talking about the rares, definitely going in the deck. And we have Burn from Within, because this card, it's nice removal. It can also be a finisher for an especially long game, which is just taking forever. We can top deck this and ruin our opponent's day. So that's the deck, everyone. We got 16 creatures, we got 17 other spells, and I think it's solid. As someone who, once again, is not an expert on sealed or draft or anything like that, I think this is solid, even without Cord. Well, if there was no Cord, I probably wouldn't have the Duskwatch Recruiter, even though I really, really like the Duskwatch Recruiter. But even without her, I think this could be a solid deck. So I think she's sort of more like the icing on top, as opposed to the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to the deck. Like I said, though, I'm going to be playing one match. I am then going to somehow try to wait, because I really hate waiting. I really, really like playing Magic, so when I usually enter one of these things, I want to get through the games as quickly as possible, the matches as quickly as possible, not because I want to get them over with, but because I really, really enjoy playing. However, I will be playing the first match and then waiting till Friday night, at least, to play the remaining 4 matches. So that should give you guys 4 days, roughly, to check it out and give me your opinions and let me know what you think. Let me know what mistakes I made. You can also let me know what I did right. That's always nice to hear as well, too. But yeah, if there's anything that you would suggest, any sort of alternate build that you would consider, please leave that in the comments section below. Also, there is another video that's supposed to be coming out by me. Actually, there's probably going to be 2 videos. Well, there's definitely going to be one. There may be a second video coming out this week. Right now, my sinuses are freaking killing me, so I may not even play the first match of this league directly after this, but I'm still hoping to get a couple more videos done this week that aren't Magic Online related. One of them is going to be a thank you video to you guys, and there'll be more information when that video comes up. If you've watched the previous Brain Pulp update video, it's going to be very similar to that. I've got a couple things to talk about what we're going to be doing on the channel, but there's a very, very specific thing which I wanted to mention to you guys and sort of express a certain amount of gratitude that we have for you guys. So definitely keep an eye out for that video, which was actually supposed to be up on Friday. It's been a hell of a week. Anyways, that will be coming up later in the week. Also coming up this week will be a non-Magic related playthrough, which I'm going to be talking about more in that other video, which I just talked about. Oh, and one last thing. I don't know if I mentioned it before or not. Even though I will not probably be playing my first match directly after this, the first match should be released simultaneously with this one. So if you're watching this one, the first match video should be up for you guys to check out as well, too. Despite me getting a little rambly there, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If, once again, any sort of advice, comments, questions at all, leave that in the comments section below. You can also contact and follow us on Twitter at BrainPulpTV. You can also contact or follow me directly on Twitter at Geek Tragedy. But now that all that is said, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It means the world to us here, and I'll see you all very soon.